Good morning, students, all of you. All of you are welcome in this morning session of English literature. Here, let me start a very beautiful poem, Tears, Idle Tears by Lord Tennyson. A very beautiful but elegiac poem. Actually, the poem is a short lyric of 20 lines divided into 4 stanzas of 5 lines each. Apparently, the poem appears very simple, but it is full of art in itself. It is an elegiac poem. However, behind its simplicity, there is a great artistic aspects in the poem imbibed in the text of the poem. So every single word of the poem should be carefully studied, and the aptness of the words used and the similes used should be carefully noted down. So now let me start the details of the poem. In the very first stanza, as the poem reads, Tears, idle tears, I know not what they mean. Tears from the depth of some divine despair rise in the heart. What a beautiful sense has been utilized by the poet by saying, टीयर्स राइज इन द हार्ट, आंसू दिल में उगते हैं, दिल में पैदा होते हैं, एंड गैदर टू द आईज in looking on the happy autumn fields and thinking of the days that are no more. The poet, in a sad note, but in a beautiful artistic manner, is going to represent that it is pleasant to recall the happy days that are past, but painful to think that the happy days have gone forever. The poet's eyes are filled with tears, though he does not know the cause of his tears. The tears are perhaps due to some deep spiritual sorrow which makes him dissatisfied with his present mental state. Discontent makes him sad and full of sorrows. Tears come to his eyes. He feels like one who has lost something great and important to him. He feels as if someone very dear to him is no more in this world. He cannot explain what he has lost. His heart is filled with a strange discontentment. The tears that appear in his eyes are caused by some sad, strange, heartfelt sorrow. When the poet looks at the autumn fields, he is reminded at once of the heavenly glory and splendor of the earth. But he becomes sad and sorrowful when he is reminded of the coming winter, when all the present glory and the splendor of the earth will vanish. Actually, the poet describes the memory of the past by using two similes. The memory of the past is sweet as well as sad. It is sweet because it reminds him of the past of happiness. It is sad because he can never get back that happiness. Fresh as the first beam glittering on a sail that brings our friends up from the underworld, sad as the last which reddens over one that sinks with all we love below the words, so sad, so fresh the days that are no more. Thus, the past memories are vivid to the poet. The poet recollects the ruby moments spent in the past by saying that the memory of the past is as sweet and pleasing as the first days of rays of the rising sun falling upon the sail of a ship which brings our dear friends from distant lands. It is as sad and painful as the last rays of the setting sun falling upon the sail of a ship which takes away our dear friends to distant lands. Just as the disappearing of the ship below the horizon makes us very sad and dejected, so also the memory of the past makes us sad and depressed. Next, let me read the text of the poem. Ah, sad and strange as in dark summer dawns the earliest pipe of half-awakened birds, to dying ears when unto dying eyes the casement slowly grows, a glimmering square so sad, so strange the days that are no more. By heavy heart, the poet says that the sight of the present joy often brings back memories of joys that have been and are no more. It is pleasant to recall the days that are past, but painful to realize that they are gone forever. The poet says that the tears coming to his eyes are sad and strange, like the song of the birds heard first of all in the early morning by a dying man. The sense of the dying man become weak, diminish. The summer dawn appears dull and gloomy to him. As the light grows stronger with the approach of morning, the window reveals its square shape slowly and faintly to the eyes of the dying person in the early morning. However, the chirping of the birds and the shape of the window appear sad and strange to dying men. In the same way, memory of the past is sad and strange for the poet. The poet describes the intensity of his feelings by two similes. He says that memory of the past joys is as sweet as the kisses of the beloved one who is now dead, leaving behind a memory of love. In a painful manner, the poet writes, dear as remembered kisses after death, and sweet as those by hopeless fancy find on lips that are for others, deep as love, deep as first love, wild with all regret. Oh, death and life, the days that are no more. The poet's heart is grief-stricken. Thus, the poet describes the intensity of his feelings by these two figurative schemes. He says that the memory of the past joys is sweet as the kisses of beloved, died beloved. Kisses of the past as quite fresh in the mind of the poet, but actually, practically, they are no more. So it is as sweet as imagined kisses of a rejected lover on the lips of a beloved who now belongs to another man, no more available to the poet. In a simple aspect, we can say that there is a great contrast has been represented by the poet, happiness and hardness of life. Really, I will say happiness and hardness of life. Because here it seems that poet's heart is weeping simply because he says it is as sweet as the imagined kisses of a rejected lover on the lips of beloved who now no more available to him. However, the imagined kisses bring great joy and delight to the lover, but they cause intense pain also. They are painful because the lover knows that his beloved now belongs to another person or no more available to him. The memory of past joy is deep. It is deep as first love, whose memory can never fade. It is full of profound sadness. The memory of the past fills the heart with regret and makes life full of pangs of death. The memories of the past joys is so painful and vivid that is being expressed by the poet in the text of the poem. Students, once again listen to me very carefully. Let me read the text of the poem. Tears, idle tears, meaningless. Idle stands for meaningless. I know not what they mean. Tears from depth of some divine despair rise in the heart and gather to the eyes in looking on the happy autumn fields and thinking of the days that are no more. Students, you are understanding? Next, fresh as the first beam glittering on a sail that brings our friends up from the underworld. Sad as the last which reddens our one that sinks with all we love below the words, so sad, so fresh, the days that are no more. A juxtaposition of two contrary aspects, so sad, so fresh. So actually the poet is weeping over the disappearance of someone who was loved by him very dearly. Ah, sad and strange as in dark summer dawns the earliest pipe of half-awakened words to dying ears, when unto the dying eyes the casement slowly grows a glimmering square, so sad, so strange, the days that are no more, dear as remembered kisses after death, and sweet as those by hopeless fancy. To a little bit, or I think to some extent, the poem reminds us of John Keats when he writes that only distant memories are fresh, but those are not available here. So the same case is going to happen in this poem. In a nutshell, we can say that in the beginning, the poet does not know the reason of the tears that come to his eyes. They are perhaps caused by some deep spiritual discontents with human lot. In the next stanza, the memory of the past is sweet as well as sad. It is sweet because it reminds us of past happiness. It is sad because we cannot get back past happiness. In the next lines, the memory of the past is as sad and strange as the singing of the birds is to a dying man on a dark summer dawn. He knows that very soon his breath will last, and thus he will be separated from the happiness forever. And in the last stanza of the poem, the memory of the past is as sweet as the thought of the kisses of a beloved who is now dead, who is no more available to him, or belongs to another man, or maybe some reason, in a nutshell, that is not available at present. That thought of the past is as deep, as sad as first love. It is so painful that a man feels himself dead while still alive. This is very painful position has been represented in this bonny, short, sweet poem by the poet in an artistic manner. Actually, when we go to the depth of the sense of the poet, tears start gushing up in the eyes, because the memories of a dear or loved person is still fresh, but that person, that loving dear, is not available here. So this causes tears in heart. Very biologically, the poet has perceived the functions of human body. I think the poet has studied human physiology and anatomy, so that's why he is able to write that tears rise in the heart and gather to the eyes. Heart is a seat of emotions for the poet, but our biological aspects present that human heart is only a pumping project or a blood circulating process, schematic object, but it is not so. The poet understands. It reminds me, Hopkins also, he says, as the heart grows older, means heart experiences. Our mind cannot experience what can be experienced by a heart. So the poet stresses the importance and significance aspects of heart that feels every happening in this world. So the past memories are still alive in the mind and heart of the poet, which is being represented in an artistic form in the texture of this bony but rich texture of the poem. Jai Hind, Jai Bharat.